Welcome to Out with Dan, the podcast that spotlights and examines the voices of LGBTQ+ authors, characters, and our allies. Together, we lift our voices and we tell our stories. I'm Dan White. Join me as I chat with this week's author. Hello and welcome back to Out with Dan. Today I'm excited to have a wonderful co-host, Marjorie McCown. Marjorie is the author of Starstruck and Final Cut, and she and I were talking to our mutual friend, Kathleen Donnelly, about Colorado Canine Rescue. Welcome, Marjorie. Welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for having us, Dan.
Oh, this is going to be so much fun. You know, I get to interview lots of authors, but I don't often get to interview people that I consider personal friends. And so today will be extra special for me. So thank you very much for both agreeing to do this with me.
Yeah. Oh, it's an honor.
Oh,
thank you. I was just going to say it's a privilege to sit in with both of you.
Oh, thank you, Marjorie. Thank you, Kathleen. Kathleen, will you give the audience an overview of what Colorado Canine Rescue is about?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So Colorado Canine Rescue is about McKenna Parker, who, when she was around 18, was abducted. She managed to survive, escape her kidnapper. He's gone to prison, and now he's coming out on parole, and that's bringing back a lot of memories for her. In that time, she moved on. She became an FBI victim specialist. She wants to help others who have been through trauma like herself. And along the way, she was able to get a crisis canine, an FBI crisis canine named Mocha, a black lab. And he's essentially a therapy dog. And what's really cool is in real life, the FBI has these crisis canines. So I just love that as part of the storyline. But she and Mocha are helping with another kidnapping case that she suddenly realizes is very similar to hers. And she's wondering if the kidnapper being out on parole could be back at work again, or what is going on. And of course, it's a romantic suspense. So we have a very good looking FBI agent, Evan Knox, who's doing the investigation, and they team up together and along with Mocha's help, work on solving this case.
I love it. So will you give the audience, because I know that you were a trainer of rescue dogs. Is that correct, Kathleen?
Sort of. I was co-owner in a private narcotics dog company, and we worked mainly in schools, some private business, and a drug and alcohol rehab. And they were all rescue dogs that we rescued and then taught how to find drugs, alcohol, and gunpowder. Wow. And of course, Mocha is basically my black lab Boomer. And Boomer was a rescue out of Oklahoma. And just a wonderful, wonderful dog. But I love seeing the power of how dogs could change kids' lives, going into schools, working with kids, helping them hopefully make better choices. That's what I would tell them. I'd say, I'm not here to bust you. I'm not a police officer. I'm here to help you make better choices. But if you make the wrong choice, we will find it.
Well, I love that, because, you know, it's nice to be collaborative, but it's also, they have to learn that there are responsibilities, obviously.
Yes.
And so
yes.
you imbued Mocha with, anyone who loves animals will love Mocha. I mean, there's just no two ways around it. And your love for Boomer and for Mocha is very evident throughout this entire book. And it was so heartwarming to read that.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you both so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, well, and I will say that so there's a lot of suspense in this, and, you know, there is romance. The romance was beautifully written. I mean, you really get an idea of both who McKenna and my mind's gone, but Evan are, and they're both very attractive, and you write a beautiful romance. I was like, all righty then. I didn't expect quite as beautifully written romance as we got, but I enjoyed it a lot.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was fun to write. You know, it was when this opportunity came up and my agent and I were talking about it, I was like, I do get to kill someone, right? And she was like, yes, you can still kill someone. But then I got into the romance, and it's something I hadn't written, at least to this extent. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed these two characters and making them fall in love and creating that relationship. It was a lot of fun. So.
Will they come back in the future? Sorry, Marjorie, I didn't mean
No,
to cut.
no, I'm sorry for interrupting.
Will they come back in the future, Kathleen?
Sort of. So I just finished the second book in this series, and in Colorado Canine Rescue, you meet McKenna's sister Cassidy, who's also an FBI agent. And so the second book is Cassidy's love story and the case she's working with her bomb dog, Cooper. And McKenna and Evan, I thought they weren't going to be a huge piece of it, and they're not main characters, but they came in more than I expected them to. All of a sudden I was like, oh, there you guys are. Hi. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
I have a feeling that they have more to say than just one book, right? So yes. I think Marjorie and I both were just really impressed by the fact that we enjoyed their coupling so much.
Absolutely. I also enjoyed the way you explored their layers of emotional backstory and how those sort of dovetailed and showed where it's sort of the genesis of their attraction is that in some ways they were so much alike.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, they were. I mean, they both have had some sort of trauma, and they've both sworn off relationships or just felt like they weren't ready for them, for anything serious. And so, yeah, it was a lot of fun to play with that and say, how would these two actually end up coming together and falling in love and realizing that they can overcome their past trauma and move forward with their lives.
It really enriched the story a lot, I thought.
Thank you. Thanks.
I agree. I thought it, because, I like thrillers, or I think the audience should know by now, I'm a big thriller fan. And I like that. And I like suspense novels. And, we sort of go into this, that I guess it's really a little more suspense than a thriller. And I was thinking it was a little bit more of a thriller when I started out, but then I realized quickly that there was going to be romance involved and suspense involved, and I was just there for the entire package. I will say that when we get to, there's a couple of twists which I won't really share. We'll go into, can you talk a little bit about the second abduction?
Sure. So the second abduction is two girls, actually, and they've been drugged at a party. I think for me, what really spurred this is working in the schools with the kids and just hearing their stories. Some of the kids would really open up to me, which always meant a lot, because here I am, an adult coming in with a drug dog here. But some of them would just, oh, I got this at a party, or, hey, I went to this party and there was just a bowl full of pills and you take them and you slide, and like, they're telling me all this. And I'm thinking, oh my God. So that wasn't necessarily the case for this second abduction, but they were definitely slipped something in some drinks, and they were at a person's house who they trust. I won't say a whole lot more than that, where they thought they were safe, and then they find out they're not. And some of the drugs I actually already had an idea about, just because sorry, I'm not laughing at this. So Boomer over here, he wants to be part of this podcast, and he's throwing his Kong Wubba around. And so you suddenly see a Kong come flying through the screen. That's what's going on. Or if you hear a bunch of squeaking, he's so funny.
That's all right.
Yeah. So, but really with the second abduction, it was, and with McKenna's as well. And that's where she starts wondering about the tie-in. And I think it is something that kids don't think about. They go to a party, they accept a drink, and you just don't know what's in that drink if you didn't pour it yourself. And so that was kind of the beginning of that. And then I wanted them taken to a remote place in Colorado. And some of the most fascinating remote places we have in the mountains are these ghost towns. And so that becomes a big piece of the book too. I love ghost towns. You can go to some of them. Some are easy to access, some are hard to access, but they're just really fascinating pieces of the past. But they also can be very remote and no one's out there. So I thought it was a good place for that kidnapper to take them.
And
it's a great location.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, and you do a great job in describing Colorado, the beauty of Colorado. And I think that people who've been there will recognize your love of the state you live in because you write about it with such an admiration and it comes through on the page.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, I love Colorado. Born and raised here. My dad worked for the Forest Service, so we were dragged up to the mountains. I shouldn't say dragged. It wasn't like a bad thing. We were taken. We weren't kidnapped and taken up to the mountains by my father, but no, it would be a good family outing. My mom loved them too. We would go up and have picnics and hike, and I just love Colorado. And you know, we have such a busy Front Range. I know both of you were in Denver for Left Coast Crime, so you know how busy it is, and yet you can drive 45 minutes and all of a sudden be out by yourself in the middle of nowhere. And I love that.
And I like the fact that you gave McKenna the desire to live in that type of environment rather than live in Denver. Mm-hmm. And I found it was, you know, at first, Kathleen, I'll tell you, I felt it was a little unsettling. But at the same time, it worked out well. You know, I was like, okay, I like that, you know, because I would have thought she would have been a city girl because it was just that thing to do, you know, but it worked out perfectly.
Yes. Good. I'm glad. And I used a real town for that, Idaho Springs, which is a,
oh, is it?
You don't have to, yeah. I did a mixture just to confuse everyone, I guess. I did a mixture. Actually, it was more for however it worked for the story, but real towns and some fictional areas. But Idaho Springs is a really cool little mining town. And I actually received a letter from a reader who used to live there. And she's like, oh, thank you for taking me back to Idaho Springs, because it's just a very fascinating town. Yeah.
I like that. And so when the second series of kidnappings, or the second that McKenna's involved in, so to speak, happens, I will tell you, I was really frightened for her because I felt like you gave us the true emotion. And I will tell you, I'll confess on camera right now that I was a little worried that you might be telling something that had happened to you, because I know you. And I was just like, you know, it was heartbreaking. It would be heartbreaking for anyone to go through that type of situation. But I was like, wow, this is so well written and so deep.
Thanks. Yeah, I think you kind of tap into experiences. I've never been kidnapped. Let me just say that right now.
Yay, yay.
Never had an issue with that. I did have a really scary experience house sitting, and sometimes that's the emotions I tap into when I want to write something really scary. I've tapped into it from my other books as well. But I was house sitting in the foothills. I was out by myself. Like, this house was just out pretty much by itself, except a really long driveway where you went by a couple other houses, but they were pretty far apart. And I don't know, there was one of the houses, there were some guys. I was in college, so I'd say they're old. They're probably no older than I am now. So they're not that old, right?
No. They're somewhere between birth and death. I got you, Kathleen.
Yeah, there you go. But at the time in college, I was like, oh, look at those older guys. And it was kind of like Deliverance. They were just sitting out on their front porch. And the way they watched was really creepy. And the place gave me the creeps. And I don't know why I agreed to stay there. But the dog, there was a Malamute mix. And really, she felt safe. And all of a sudden one night, middle of the night, like 1 a.m, the phone started ringing, and then it would hit the answering machine. It was long enough ago. They would hit the answering machine and hang up, ring, hang up. And then there were these big windows that overlooked the mountain ranges, but they didn't have curtains or blinds. And the dog all of a sudden started lunging at him. And there was a deck outside these windows. And it was as if someone was walking outside looking in, and she just kept barking and lunging, and I was terrified. And looking back, I'm like, why did I not call 911? I don't know. You're young. So I sat there with like a chef's knife. Like, don't come into me. I'll get you. Like, whatever. So sometimes that experience plays in where you're just so terrified. There's scene, I don't want to ruin too much, but where you realize the kidnapper is making contact with McKenna, and some of the emotions in that scene definitely pulled from just this feeling like someone's watching you, someone's out there, and the only thing keeping him from coming in is this Malamute mix that that I'm taking care of. So yeah, so that was one experience. I haven't had too many. I mean, that was probably one of the scariest things personally, that, and I think you can pull those emotions and then heighten them and try to get them out on the page. So,
and I think once you've been frightened in life, it's something you never forget. You know, it's just that one little thing, you know, and we're just talking about fright. I mean, I can only imagine that if you were kidnapped, that type of trauma is at such a heightened level. And there's a phrase that your kidnapper uses, which is catch and release.
Yes.
And I was blown away by that, because that is a whole different type of mind game. I was about to say another word after mind, but mind game there. That the kidnapper is torturing them with, because I think there's that fear of dying, but that fear of, well, when you release me, are you going to really let me go? So that becomes a whole nother level of terror. At least I would think so.
Yeah. And you know, there's a lot of fishing in Colorado, and I have friends who do fly fishing, and that's the big thing, is catch and release the fish. And so they definitely, I think I was trying to figure out, like, how is this kidnapper going to toy with him? How can I up the game a little bit? And I happened to hop on Facebook, and there was, it was, you know, a friend holding up her trout, like, here's my trout I caught. And then here he is being released. And I was like, oh, catch and release. I'm going to totally. So I have to thank her for that. Yeah. But it definitely, I thought, you know, we say it all the time for fish, but gosh, if you're talking about a kidnapper toying with someone, I thought it made it a lot scarier. So,
yeah, and you know, I looked at a statistic during a library event reading in Agora Hills one day. I think it was the one you were at, Marjorie, and the other author was talking about the number of kidnapped children in this country. And when I looked up that statistic that day, it was 270,000 children are abducted a year, or they go missing. Now, a lot of those cases are resolved, but I did see this morning when I quickly Googled it, it was like 29,000 a year aren't resolved. And that's a lot of people, you know, and I just, you know, it must be so frightening for parents as well as the victims, because they are the victim, you know, the whole family's the victim. Everybody is victimized, and it never goes away.
No, it doesn't. And I won't get into much details out of respect for my family, but we did have a family member who was, when she was a young girl, who was kidnapped. And unfortunately, it did not end well, and she did not come home. So I think that was part of it too. And just seeing sort of the family side of things, where you see what it does to a family. So, you know, I think that played a little part. I think that plays a little part in each of my books. Like, but for sure with McKenna as a victim specialist, when she says to Evan, you know, you work the next case, but it stays with me forever. And that's what I was thinking of. It's just, yeah, it does. It stays with a family forever. It stays with that victim forever, for sure, but the family too. So. Yes.
And, you know, it's neither outcome is good. I mean, obviously you want your loved one to come home alive, but neither outcome is good, because that violence that's been perpetrated on the victims never leaves ever.
Yeah, it doesn't. And I think we tend to forget that, especially as we watch like true crime shows. I mean, I watch them myself. Everything. You're like, oh, did that really happen? But then you stop and think, oh, but yeah, it's this really is someone's life we're talking about. So.
All right, Marjorie, do you watch true crime?
Oh my gosh, have you met me?
Oh, well, yes, but I don't watch true crime. But it's so funny. I can't tell you the number of guests I've had that are true crime aficionados, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should start watching it. Maybe I'd learn a few tricks. I don't know.
I'm an aficionado, but I'm a big true crime watcher. I thought you did a beautiful job, Kathleen, of weaving that thread in of, not just sensationalizing what happened, but making the point that those lives are changed forever. Yeah. And I thought that was a wonderful point of depth in the book that also resonated in each of the characters. I just thought it was beautifully, beautifully done.
Well, thank you.
I agree with you, Marjorie. I felt like each of the characters were affected and in a different way, McKenna it's her lived experience. And yet the man she's fallen in love with, it's not his lived experience. And he asked questions that I think lots of humans would ask, not meaning to be unkind, but unfortunately, we don't always have the tools in our toolbox to use to ask the correct questions, It's one of those things that I'm typically a joke maker, and I have to be careful when someone's being very serious, because I'm like, oh, well, how was that, and it's like, oh, Dan, that's not appropriate. And I'm like, oh, keep your mouth closed, let them explain, and you can have a funny later.
I'm with you there, Dan. Sometimes it's just really hard to know what to say or ask. And so that part of me too, that was definitely Evan, where he's trying to get information. He just wants to solve this case. He wants justice for all the right reasons as well, but he is also learning along the way that, oh, maybe I need to rethink how I'm looking at this.
Well, and I love the fact that he's left speechless a few times, and I love that. I'm like, when I'm ever left speechless, I'm like, oh wow, Dan, you really have stepped in it really good this time. So
Well, this is why we're friends, Dan. I always say I have foot in mouth disease. Like that is my. I'll say something and then I'll think later, oh my gosh, I think that could have been interpreted this way, or.
Some of us are overthinkers, Kathleen. Yes, I know.
Yes,
I know how that is.
I have that problem as well.
Fortunately, we have a friend in Marjorie McCown who never makes that mistake. She's always.
Oh, heavens! Yes, I'm sitting over here thinking, oh yes, ding, ding, ding. That's me too. For sure.
Yet another reason. That's the reason we're three are friends. So
that's right.
We have to watch out for each other. That's a good thing, and I love it.
We do.
So, and I do want. So, this is a very serious book. It is a suspense romance, but I do want to end on a sort of a romantic note. That I loved the romance portion of this, and I love the fact that you gave us, as Marjorie said, two adults who were flawed, but yet had the right reasons for being how flawed they were, and for going at life in understanding their lane and where they could be in life and what they could and couldn't do. And I loved that.
Well, thank you. Yeah. It was, like I said, it was a lot of fun to write that and figure out how am I going to get them together? How am I going to convince these two they work?
Well, that's right.
Oh, sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
I just want to say I'm also looking forward to your next in the National Forest, Buried Lives, that's coming out January 27th.
Oh, thank you, Marjorie. I'm excited about that one because Maya returns. She's a different character, very different from McKenna. And she has Juniper, the Malinois, who's an amazing dual purpose law enforcement dog, but also gets in a bit of mischief at times. And they find a body burned in a slash pile because, when you drive around the mountains and you see these giant slash piles, immediately the first thing a normal person thinks is, oh, that'd be a great place to put a dead body and burn it. So there you go. It's going to happen.
It's great that Juniper and Mocha are two such wonderful, full-fledged characters, and they're both different. They're different dogs.
Yes. Yeah. Different jobs, very different dogs. Mocha was based off of dogs that needed career changes, as I've heard it put. I used to say they flunked out, but I thought career changes was a nicer way of putting it. And then Juniper is your pretty standard dual purpose, high strung Malinois. Our trainer said once, if you took a rubber band, or he said when God made the Malinois, he took a rubber band and wound it as tight as it would go and then let go, and that created the Malinois. And that is an accurate description. Those dogs they're wild. I mean, they're fun. They're fun, but oh my gosh, they are. You don't know what you're getting into with them.
Dan, I'm sorry I hijacked the romantic.
No, I love that. I love that, Marjorie, because I did know you had a book coming out in January. And so that we will look forward to that as well.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. And let me give another picture of the cover of the book if I can get the iPad to open, which I can't even type 4 little numbers. There you go.
Got it right.
Perfect.
There we go.
Lovely. Thank you again, Kathleen, for being here. We appreciate it. And thank you, Marjorie, for co-hosting.
Thank you for having both of us.
Yes,
My
thank
pleasure.
you so much.
Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of Out with Dan. You can find more information about this podcast and its host at outwithdan.com, on Twitter at OutWithDan, and on Instagram and Facebook at GoOutWithDan. This podcast is hosted by Authors on the Air Global Radio Network, and the theme music is provided by bensound.com. Join us again soon for the next episode of Out with Dan.